Welcome to the NFL Stacking to Win It for Week 5. I'm Jason Gilbo, J-Gilbo11. With me is Justin Elick at Big Illy 42. You took a look at some stacks this week. I like all of them. There's kind of a lot of different ways you can go with some of these stacks as well. Jumping into the first one, the pricey one, but I think it's one that can pay off, Packers.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that due to the fact that their prices are so high, they won't have as high of ownership as they should. But that Vegas total of almost 28 points, I mean, 4 touchdowns there. And I mean, we've seen them be able to put up points in a hurry. I mean, we saw 4 touchdowns in the first half for Rodgers against the Lions. And then, I mean, not much in the second half, but I mean, you can't, at that point, you can't get too greedy. You got your 4 touchdowns, you move on. But, you know, this is an interesting one because there's not a lot of teams where you feel like you actually have GPP winning type of upside, especially at this price, playing 2 wide receivers and a quarterback. But I do think that the Packers are the exception to that rule in particular because I've had a couple big weeks over the years stacking this trio here when they've all been healthy. And, you know, dating back to the beginning of 2014, Rodgers has 13 games with 3 touchdown passes. 5 of those games have 4 or more touchdowns. So, you know, this is a team that can put up points in a hurry. Obviously, Nelson is his number one target. We've seen Cobb have 2, 3 touchdown games even. Finally, all 3 are healthy. And, you know, Cobb really hasn't done a whole lot, but his price just keeps dropping just a little bit each week. And, you know, this is a Giants defense that's 23rd against the pass. They're good against the run. Eddie Lacy isn't a particularly great runner at this point anyway. Really has no GPP upside, even though his price is low. So, I mean, for me, Nelson is a guy I want everywhere. I'd love Rodgers in cash games, but, you know, you'd be a fool to pay the top salary, especially on FanDuel, for him in cash games with all the good other options. So I think the Packers they're just the easiest target. And you don't have to try to dig too deep into this one. It's play Nelson and Rodgers, and then if you want to go deeper, play Cobb too.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, when you look at these guys, I mean, obviously there's, you know, a couple other guys in this team that you can look and go, okay, they might catch a touchdown, but it's usually like 1 reception for 12 yards and a touchdown. That's all they do, you know.
Yeah.
So Nelson and Cobb really have that upside to pair with Rodgers. Top stack number 2, you're looking at the Patriots. You list a couple of guys, and this is kind of a one that you can go a lot of different ways, and it definitely helps that Tom Brady's back.
Yeah, I mean, this is one that it's not kind of just cut and dry. Obviously, Brady, I think, will be a pretty popular play as a one-off in tournaments. Probably see him in some in cash games, especially if people feel comfortable with the value plays at running back and wide receiver. But, you know, this is Rob Gronkowski's banged up. Julian Edelman's banged up. Even LeGarrette Blount is banged up. So, but the one thing we know about Tom Brady, much like Aaron Rodgers, is he just gets it done. Doesn't matter who's out there. Obviously, coming off 4-game suspension, the NFL gifted him a matchup against the Browns in Week 5, and you tell me that was a coincidence, I'm going to tell you that you're an idiot because we know how these things work. Tom Brady, even while he's not getting what he wants, he's still getting what he wants, and so he gets his Browns this first week back. I don't expect much resistance at all. This is a bad defense that has given up almost 29 points a game. I think Gronkowski is the guy that I like to pair with Brady the most here, with Edelman a little bit banged up, because say both Edelman and Gronk are 80%. I'm taking Gronk and his just big physical size against anyone rather than Edelman, who kind of needs to be at least close to 100% to produce a big line. Not a huge touchdown guy, more of a volume play. So, you know, we could see Gronkowski get 5 catches, 2 or 3 of those for touchdowns. Obviously, that's highest upside you see, but it doesn't matter if the guy can barely walk. You're still not stopping him in the red zone if Tom Brady's out under center.
Yeah, I mean, I think ownership for Gronk's going to be relatively low as well, so that kind of makes it you know, not contrarian, but I think, you know, when you look at other weeks where people have stacked the Patriots, this is probably one of the weeks where you can get Gronk with a little bit lower ownership.
Yeah, certainly. I think he's going to be really low this week, and he's a guy that I'm going to be sneaking into some tournaments by himself too.
Yeah, definitely. Looking at value here, talking about the Bears, Brian Hoyer, Jordan Howard, Alshon Jeffrey. And I think people are kind of turned off by Jeffrey at this point because it's been a couple of weeks. We haven't really seen any big outing out of him or really any potential for a big outing. But this is obviously a secondary that he can kind of go and pair up Hoyer with.
Yeah, and I mean, Jeffrey's still, you know, as of late in the week here, not 100%. So he's certainly not a guy that's without risk, not a guy I would play in cash games by any means. But Kevin White's on the IR. Obviously, you've got Jordan Howard under there who looks good. You've got Zach Miller's banged up. Eddie Royal's banged up. Jeffrey, like you mentioned, first couple games, 105 yards, 96 yards, but then slowly taking back down 70 and 46. But, especially if one or both of those, Royal or Miller, can't play in this one. I mean, you look at the guys that are behind Alshon Jeffrey in this depth chart. And I mean, interesting one is Cameron Meredith there, who's, got a lot of physical tools. You see a lot of talk about him on Twitter. I don't know a ton about him personally, but he's going to be kind of thrust into a bigger role. You could play him for cheap if you wanted to go that route. But I'm going to go with the proven commodity. Like you said, people are turned off. Nobody's on Alshon Jeffrey. And while he's not quite elite level, he's not going to have a breakout game like Julio Jones or AJ Green or something like that. But this is a guy that does have multiple touchdown upside, 100+ yards. And I mean, if he's really the only guy for Brian Hoyer, they're going to be chucking the ball down the field, because I expect they're going to give up plenty of points in this one as well. So I think that he's kind of the key to keeping this stack low owned, although he is the most expensive of the group.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I think hard not to pick on the Colts and just go full stacks anytime who plays them. Yep. But you also talk about Oakland, 27-point team total there. You obviously have a quarterback who's just been super efficient this year, kind of making that elite jump into the next tier. And you also got a couple guys you can pair with and a possible cheap running back too.
Yeah, I mean, on DraftKings in particular, we mentioned Crabtree in one of the other articles. He's $6,900 on both sites. Carr's under $7K on DK. We've kind of noticed that quarterbacks seem underpriced there anyway. But that duo, as we mentioned, has been really good recently. You got Latavius Murray banged up, listed as questionable right now, but it seems more on the negative side than the positive side towards him playing. So you get DeAndre Washington, 3,400 on DK, only 47 on FanDuel, so 400 and 200 above minimum salary there. And I mean, there's not a lot of depth for this team. So Amari Cooper's kind of been a disappointment. You could stack all three of these guys, and I mean, it's a pretty safe stack also, and it's got upside. And we saw in that Tennessee game, they kind of were a disappointment. But outside of that, I mean, Carr, I think, has been 20+ points on both sites. Crabtree's been double digits, had over 30 last week on DraftKings. So, this is a safe stack, and DeAndre Washington's going to be pretty popular, I would imagine. So this isn't necessarily going to be a low-owned stack, but one you can get for cheap, though.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I like him a lot. I mean, Charging secondary's banged up. Looking at the contrarian stack, you're not going as bold as you've gone the last 2 weeks here, but definitely one you like the Giants.
Yeah, and I mean, a couple days ago when I was thinking about this one, it was one that everyone was hating on, Eli and Odell and the whole diva situation. And I made a point to throw out a couple adjectives for Odell and his performance recently and his attitude. It's irritating, but I don't care how the guy acts. I care about what he does on the football field. And, this is a spot where the Packers have been unsustainably good. I think I said in the article there, less than 2 yards a carry against the run. The Giants have zero running game to speak of anyway. Orleans Darkwa, it doesn't matter who's there. Rashad Jennings, none of these guys are particularly good. The offensive line's horrible. You're going to get the ball in the hands of your playmakers here. And Beckham, it's hard to gauge his ownership now. Like we said, everyone was hating on him, said he's done. He's not having fun anymore, and I don't want a part of him and trade him away and all this. And then you get people saying he should be benched and all these stupid things. I mean, he's the only chance they have to win football games, I think. And Eli's got some positive regression coming his way quick. I think he's averaging, 330 yards per game over the last 3 games, 1 touchdown. I mean, touchdowns are coming, and they're definitely coming for the Packers in this game, so they're going to need to air it out and try to keep up. I think that duo is going to be one of my favorites. And then Shepard or Cruz, throw in one of those guys if you want to go full stack, because I wouldn't be stunned to see this game, be a 35-28 type of a shootout.
Yeah, I definitely think so too. I think game flow sets it up really well. That DraftKings price tag for Eli Manning is just way too low. I mean, $6K. I mean, that's only $500 more than Brian Hoyer. It just seems a little odd.
Yeah. It just, I don't know what DraftKings is doing with these quarterback prices here. I know it's not even official technically that Cutler's out for Hoyer to start, but Cutler was really inefficient anyway. Hoyer's been getting it done. I don't see any way where, even if Cutler's healthy, until Hoyer has a playoff type performance, that I don't see him going back to the bench.
I don't think so either. I mean, it's pretty close. I mean, if I'm the Bears, I'm building a statue outside the stadium of Brian Hoyer.
I'm building one in my house. I'm gonna get a fountain outside of my house, and it's just gonna be Brian Hoyer's face. spitting the water. And if you think I'm joking, we'll see. I don't know where to order one of those.
And you need his foot up like on top of like Jay Cutler's body, like just like stepping on top of him.
Jay Cutler smoking a cigarette, laying on the ground.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Brian Hoyer is the GOAT. And if you don't know, now you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's a tier of guys for you. It's Lonnie Chisenhall, Brian Hoyer, that just they rank up there for you.
Hey, and I unequivocally stand by these guys. And Chisenhall paid off. RBI single last night. I mean, it's the playoffs. Man stepping up. He's already better than Brian Hoyer in the playoffs. One at bat.
Yeah, I think we can cut it here about talking about the Red Sox game. I don't want to go into it.
Too soon.
Yeah. I got 2 hours till game time. I got to revamp myself.
Absolutely.
So that's going to wrap it up with the stacking to win it for week 5. Be sure to check out DaveFantasyCafe.com for all the great tools and content.